Hello everyone, welcome back. What I would like to show you here is creating a value survey or a gradation scale. And so I've already laid out the scale. So here 1 3/8 by 2 inches, and then measured halfway for this point, and I made a triangle in here. And then I made a 9-inch row. And then I marked it off every inch. So I have a 1 by 1 inch square for each value that I'm going to do. So with that laid out with your ruler, and you'll try and fit as many of these you can on per page. You probably get about 4 per page if you have that 9 by 12 sketch pad. To begin off, you want to fill in this triangle, which highlights the strongest value that this pencil offers. So I'm going to begin to fill this in, and I want to fill it in such a manner that the overall result blocks out the white of the paper, and that I have the tone throughout the entire shape as a uniform overall dark gray that this particular pencil offers, with it being the middle pencil between the H scales and the B scales, HB hence. So I'm using heavy pressure, trying to go in one direction. Every so often I'm spinning my pencil to retain that nice sharp point, and you'll find that the sharp point, along with the heavy pressure, will destroy the tooth of the paper or the texture of the paper. And not only will it fill the little hills of the texture, the high areas, but also the valleys, all at the same time while filling it in, creating that overall uniform dark gray. Again, you want to turn your pencil every so often. You can return to areas that seem still a little bit light. And carefully staying in the lines and filling in this triangle with that heavy pressure. Again, the sharper the pencil, the easier it is to retain this overall value. Once your pencil gets dull, it creates more of a smoky line, real similar to what you've used in sketching. But here we want full pressure, full fill-in. Alright, so I've got it filled in. So now I'm just going to go in any errant places that are still light, and still using that heavy pressure. Sometimes when you move across the areas too quickly, you create these subtle little gaps of information where the paper might be coming through a little bit or just appears lighter. Alright. And you notice if you get the light just right, it has like a metallic sheen, and that's kind of one of the properties of graphite, because it is a metal. It's a soft metal. Alright, so once your triangle is finished and you're happy with that, nice and filled in, the first square will be just like this. And the first square indicates the darkest dark that this pencil offers. So I'm going to kind of run the edge in this dark one first in an attempt to keep my lines inside. There's all sorts of ways to approach this, but again, you want to turn your pencil or twist it every so often so you retain that nice sharp tip. Alright, and then I begin to fill in the first square with the heaviest pressure with the mindset that I want this to be the darkest square. So I'm starting with the darkest value first, and I'll end with the white of the paper down here. So the point of this is, though it is tedious, what it's going to do is your brain's going to catalog each gradation that you're making, or each value tone, with your pencil, and you're going to learn pencil control, because each one you're using less pressure so that each successive square gets lighter. It fades or gradates from dark to light. And as you're working this, you want to work each square to its fullest value. And you'll find that the first one is pretty straightforward and easy because it's heavy pressure. Alright, so that one's finished. Now I want to do the next one. There's a couple of ways you can approach this. You can use that cross-hatching method, where you go in horizontally, and I'm going rather quickly with a back and forth stroke, twisting my pencil every so often to get that nice tip to retain. I don't want this to wedge or get dull or blunt. Carefully go up against this edge. Using that. So right now I'm using light pressure, trying to get an overall tone, and I'm going to cross over this. So I turn it, and now I'm going to go vertically. And when you're doing this back and forth stroke, you want to try and keep it close knit. You want the lines that cross to be right against each other or overlap. And you can come back. You'll see I coming back, and then move forward, coming back. This is the vertical second layer crossing over. Alright, now I'm going to go diagonally. And as I'm doing this, I'm also trying to fill in the white of the paper. So my lines should be nice and tight knit, close to each other. Okay, then I can assess it. It looks like it should go just a little bit darker. So I'm going to cross it one more time. Okay, and you can tell that this is slightly darker than that. I'm going to move on to the next one. So I'm using that horizontal back and forth stroke. Again, I'm using light to medium pressure, and I'm trying to keep that same pressure when I go back and forth. I want to stay within the square. So if I go into this square by accident, take my eraser, take care of those marks, because if these marks come in here and later on when I start to do this square, those marks will affect it. Alright, now I'm going to cross. Using the same amount of pressure, making sure that I'm filling in the paper and that the pressure is the same throughout, so I get the same tone over the first layer. Nice and uniform. If you press too hard, you'll get those haphazard lines or value lines that wreak all sorts of havoc. Alright, then I assess, and I notice that the jump here is too much. So this needs to go just a hint darker so that it has a transition like this, real subtle. So I'll do a diagonal. Be sure to keep my lines tight. And I can always get those marks that leave later with my eraser. Again, I want my square to be nice and uniform with the same overall uniform value. Twisting my pencil every so often. Getting all those light areas. There we go. So looking at this, it looks like right now I just made these two the same. So what I'm going to do is, this is still fairly dark, so I'm going to just give another layer to this one. Not a big deal, it happens a lot. So I'm going to go diagonally again over the second box. So this is one way to fix that mistake, is to darken the one before. Okay, let me look at it again, and there we go. Now it's still flutes, so this one is lighter than that one. Now I can move on to this one. Rinse and repeat. One thing you can do is you can bring your ruler up to this edge, just like that, and then you can use that back and forth stroke right up to the line. Acts as a guard or stop. So there's a nice horizontal fill with light pressure, and it stays within that line. Now I'm going to do a vertical one. I just want to show you the tonal difference. See the tonal difference of crossing over that first layer? So it's not much difference, but it's enough that it makes a difference. Okay, so there's the horizontal one. And then I'm going to do just a subtle diagonal. Great. All right. Then I can move on to the next one. Just rinse and repeat. So I'm hoping that you get the idea that through layers you can accommodate the tone, and as long as it's nice and uniform in terms of its application, that when you move on to the next one it will flute or look different. And then you begin to understand that idea of pencil control as you fill in each square, the amount of pressure that you're exerting, and the amount of layers that accommodates each tone. Just like that. So as I move down in this direction, I'm starting to use really light pressure so I can get it to gradate to a lighter value. So here I've only done 2 layers. This one I'll do 1 layer. I'm using lighter pressure. Trying to get my lines together so it's nice and uniform. This one will be the white of the paper, this last one, but here this one will be just kind of dragging the pencil. I'm putting no value down at all, or excuse me, I'm not using any pressure at all, just dragging the pencil back and forth. So light value. So you'll find these last 3 very difficult to do. You really got to concentrate on that pencil control. Okay, that's it. Easy as that. So do that to all of your pencils in your sketch pad and you'll learn an incredible amount of information. You'll learn that the one end of the spectrum that your pencil has possible of in terms of a dark, and then you'll learn sort of the mid-tones that it can offer, and these are similar to some of the other pencils, and then the lighter tones that it offers, you know, to what extent or what lightness. So it's just like musical notes, how high or how low they can go. Same thing here, and each pencil can diagnose a certain range of values. And then collectively all your pencils together can go from a dark delicious black to a light super light gray, almost white. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I hope that was helpful in terms of how to use the pencils, diagnosing different gradations of value or tone.